Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're going to look at a rogues gallery that does not always get the attention as much as the Flashes or even the Batmans, but I believe it's as equally rich in character and in danger. Superman's. He's the grandfather of all the superheroes and probably the most recognizable comic book character of all time. So it makes sense that his rogue gallery would have some of the greatest supervillains ever created as well. And as always, this is my list, and I'd love to know your opinion in the comment section below. And as well, I appreciate all the kind support you've shown me, and I thank you for checking out this video. With that, let's begin. Number 10. Bizzaro. Superman has a doppelganger, and his name is Bizzaro. But ask Bizzaro, and he'll tell you that he's number 1. Unraveling Bizzaro's origin is a tricky task, as there seems to be many. The original Bizzaro story is when Superman was exposed to a duplicating ray, creating this opposite Superman. And when I say opposite, I mean everything's opposite. His speech patterns, his meanings, his actions are all the antithesis of what Superman would actually do. If Bizzaro says he's going to kill you, it's okay. That just means he's going to save you. But if Bizzaro says he likes you, then you better run. Chalk white skin, an intellect that is childlike at best, and an inability to understand the world around him. Bizzaro is a villain by nature, not choice, and that makes him an empathetic character. Other versions of Bizzaro were failed clones created by Lex Luthor, and another conjured by Mr. Mxyzptlk on suggestion by the Joker. Bizzaro's weakness is blue kryptonite instead of green. He has freezing eye beams and fire breath. In subsequent comics, there's even a Bizzaro world where multiple Bizzaros live, and on this planet, Eartria, Earth spelled backwards, it's a crime to make something perfect or do anything well. The one thing Bizzaro and Superman do have in common is their affection for Lois Lane, which is usually what brings the two at odds in the first place. Number 9. Parasite. There have been several villains to use the name Parasite. However, the one that concerns Superman the most is Rudy Jones. One of his backstories has him gaining his powers from Darkseid, another from him being exposed to radioactive material at Star Labs where he was a janitor, and another has him gaining them from eating a radioactive donut. In the end, he's still someone who can leech another's superpowers off of them, bringing them to near death or killing them outright. For someone with a power set such as Superman, one can easily see the threat posed by Rudy. Parasite is basically a superpowered vampire, and to fight him, Superman must protect him against being touched by Rudy at all costs. Parasite can also shapeshift into the form of others, and at one point, kidnaps Lois Lane, imitates her, gets close to Lex Luthor, and it's implied that they actually had an amorous encounter before Superman and Batman are able to save Lois. Parasite is a complex character, as he's constantly hungry for energy, but any form of energy they consume can alter them physically or mentally, from turning them into a smoldering ash heap to a hulking blob of a creature with razor-sharp teeth. Number 8. Lobo. Born on the planet Zarnia, he killed every other member of his race for a high school science experiment. Then he gave himself an A on the assignment. Ultra-violent, riding only what could be called an intergalactic motorcycle, Lobo is definitely a fan favorite. Sometimes villain, sometimes anti-hero, he has a strict moral code and will always keep his word. He's known for his vulgar language and his ability to regenerate even from a single cell, so Lobo balances between threat and nuisance, depending on his mood at the time. The main man, as he likes to call himself, has battled Superman in an effort to win a drunken bet, worked for Atrocitus, the leader of the Red Lanterns, he's been to hell and back with the demon Etrigan and Blue Devil, and he's taken on various other members of the Justice League. He has super strength, a genius-level intellect when it comes to violence and destruction, and prefers to use a metal hook on a chain as his primary weapon. He makes his living as a bounty hunter, which often puts him in cross paths with the intergalactic peacekeepers like Superman or the Green Lantern Corps. But to understand Lobo, one only needs to translate his name, which means one who devours your entrails and thoroughly enjoys it. Number 7. Mr. Mxyzptlk. If all the villains on this list are deadly, this is the one that is more of a pester, a real nuisance, if you will, to Superman. Mr. Mxyzptlk is an imp from the 5th dimension who just wants to antagonize the Man of Steel to prove that he is smarter. Mixie can manipulate all matter and is basically omnipotent. He can teleport, he can break the fourth wall and talk to the reader, he can turn invisible, he can fly. He's not very strong physically, but he doesn't need to be. As Mixie comes up with elaborate ways to annoy and test our Man of Steel, readers are always left wondering how Superman will complete the only task that makes his impish enemy go away, which is getting Mixie to say or spell his name backwards. Always entertaining and a little more lighthearted than all our other entries on this list, Mixie may not put dread and fear into the minds of the readers or of Superman himself, but make no mistake, Mr. Mxyzptlk is one of the most powerful beings that could be included on this or any other list of supervillains. Number 6. Metallo. First appearing in 1958 in Action Comics number 252, John Corbin, otherwise known as Metallo, was a criminal on the run when he got into a single-car accident, leaving him dying on the side of the road. A doctor and his maid came across him, brought him home, and repaired his badly mangled body by replacing all of him but his brain with a metal skeleton and a uranium heart to power him up. Corbin, now seemingly invincible, gets a job as a reporter alongside Lois Lane. Lois mistakes him for Superman when bullets bounce off his metal body, and Corbin goes along with the charade. Eventually, Corbin needs fresh uranium to power his body, but then he finds out that kryptonite is the only other source of energy that'll work for him. Hence, he crafts himself a heart of kryptonite, making him now a deadly foe for Superman from that moment on. John Corbin's original story has changed a few times since 1958, but what has not changed is that Corbin represents to Superman another unrelenting enemy bent on bringing about his death. Corbin has been in league with the likes of Lex Luthor, Brainiac, and the rest of the Legion of Doom. But regardless of what their goals are, Corbin's goal is always the same: to kill Superman. Number 5. General Zod. First appearing in 1961's Adventure Comics number 283, this former Kryptonian hero, being the one who defeated Doomsday in Krypton's past, was eventually tried for treason and banished into the Phantom Zone. He swore revenge on the House of El, and particularly Jor-El, Superman's biological father. On Earth, Zod enjoys the same meta enhancements as Superman, and he's a trained warrior, skilled in combat, both weaponry and hand-to-hand, giving him a superiority over Superman in their battles. And if that wasn't enough, Zod is often in the company of Ursa, his wife, and Non, his subordinate. Each have the same abilities as the Man of Steel, and in some instances, seemingly more. After escaping the Phantom Zone prison the first time, Zod, Ursa, and Non made their way to Earth. And although Superman was able to defeat them and return them to the Phantom Zone, Zod often escapes, and is sometimes in league with Doomsday, another Superman threat, and Phantom Zone prisoner. But in addition to battling Superman, Zod has also crossed paths with the Green Lantern Corps, and he's been a reluctant member of the infamous Suicide Squad. Number 4. Brainiac. First appearing in 1958's Action Comics number 242, he's known by many of the names on many of the planets, but on Krypton, he was dubbed Brainiac. Part man, part computer program, his goal is to preserve and collect the pinnacles of different societies, because he believes they'll be one day destroyed through universal Armageddon. He's the ultimate collector, gathering what he wants from a society, placing it in a single city, then miniaturizing that city, freezing it under a glass dome to add to his collection. As he approached Earth, he set his sights on Metropolis while conversing with Lex Luthor. The only problem is that Brainiac was unaware that a Kryptonian existed there as well. Logically, Brainiac wanted Superman for his collection. He could add him to the Kryptonian city of Kandor, which he captured centuries ago. Brainiac is as cold and calculating as they come, possessing a 12th level intellect, which makes him the most intelligent being in existence. He's also physically powerful, able to go toe-to-toe with Superman, as well as bend and manipulate all forms of technology to his will. Often traveling in a skull-shaped spaceship, Brainiac returns again and again in some technological form or another in his quest to collect all usable knowledge and destroy whatever is left. Number 3. Doomsday. Superman's death was one of comics' most controversial occurrences. It came at the hands of this monster, Doomsday. Created by a Kryptonian scientist long ago, before that planet exploded, Doomsday is a monster that can evolve over time. Each time it is defeated, it becomes immune to that type of attack in the future, eventually giving it great invulnerability. Due to its history with Krypton and how it was experimented on by Kryptonians, Doomsday has an innate hatred for that race. After centuries of hurtling through space, trapped and bound, Doomsday found his way to Earth, where he was buried, but eventually powered out from his prison. Almost mindless, and only possessing that singular instinct to kill and destroy, he quickly decimated the Justice League, leaving Superman as his only challenge. Their battle leveled Metropolis, and as the world watched on, Superman and Doomsday delivered simultaneous fatal blows to each other, leaving the monster dead and the Man of Steel dying in the arms of his love, Lois Lane. Number 2. Darkseid. He may be the greatest threat to peace in the entire DC universe. Darkseid, the dictatorial ruler of Apocalypse, has used his ruthlessness, his strength, and his hatred to conquer countless civilizations throughout the known existence. Only Superman, with help from the Justice League, has been able to thwart his conquest of Earth on several occasions, and these battles normally come with a heavy price. Darkseid's powers, including his Omega beams, are more than a match for the Man of Steel on many occasions. It is sometimes only Superman's sheer will and determination to overcome evil that has won Superman the day. That, and some well-timed aid from his allies like Cyborg or Batman. However, Darkseid is basically a god, and with few exception, invulnerable. Whether it's the Crisis on Infinite Earth storyline, or Final Crisis, or Chaos, or Darkseid War, this foe represents the most existential threat to Superman, the Justice League, and the universe as a whole. Number 1. Lex Luthor. Batman has the Joker, Superman has Lex Luthor. In many ways, the exact opposite of the Man of Steel, Lex is a billionaire industrialist, he has a high genius-level IQ, he's a brilliant and creative scientist, and he hates our Kryptonian hero because Superman overshadows Lex's mere human achievements. Jealousy and narcissism are Lex's driving forces when it comes to his hatred for Superman, a need to prove himself superior. to prove himself to be the true savior, an idol of adulation for Metropolis and the world. As well, he has a deep-seated distrust of Superman's pure motives, believing it's only a matter of time before Superman turns on the world and becomes a meta-human overlord, plunging humanity into servitude and darkness. Throughout his life, Lex has used his genius, his money, and his power to become president of the United States, destroy Metropolis in an act of revenge against Lois Lane, cure his own sister of her paraplegic disease, only to cripple her again out of spite, and finally, sell out all of humanity and all of existence to Perpetua, creator of the multiverse, so she could destroy it all, leading to the death metal story arc. And these are just the tip of the iceberg for Lex's resume of evil, as he's been a thorn in the side of Superman since first appearing in 1940s Action Comics number 23. And that's my list. What do you think? Did I miss someone? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video, hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps out the channel. And be sure to check out my other videos here on the channel, especially my beginner's guide to Madam Web and my ultimate countdown to the top 10 best Batman comic book issues. Remember, I'm still your reluctant gringo, and from south of the border, salute and a huevo.